You're listening to Nighttime Confessions with your host Cynthia and co-host Judy. Pour yourself a glass of wine and welcome to the show.
In today's episode, we will read and discuss situationships, where you stand, and if it's worth it. How does anyone work up the courage to let go of a situationship? We have been in one on and off for 9 months, and when it's good, it's good. But when it's not, I'm left undelivered for days and even unopened, and then he talks to me a few days later like nothing's happened. I treat him so well, and so does he when we're good, but it's mixed signals he gives, and that upsets me. I have genuine feelings for him, and I can't fathom not talking to him anymore just because he's become a huge part of my life and my routine, and I can't imagine not having him around anymore. But I've given him one too many chances, and when I explain how I feel, he apologizes, and I always forgive him. But I'm getting to the point where I do realize I deserve better, but just have a really hard time letting go of him. I need advice.
Okay, so situationships are, I think, the biggest waste of time because it's either something that happens before you get into a relationship, which is perfect, but if it's a situationship that lasts for months, or maybe even years, it's a complete waste of time because then you have no real commitment from each other. And I hate it. I hate it so much.
Oh my gosh, it definitely, because like situationships, in my mind, it's that you are kind of on the cusp of becoming like a couple. And then when that one person is undecided of where they want to take this relationship and the other person has fallen in love or had deeper emotions attached to this person, it's harder to say where the line is drawn in the sand. Like, where do you stand, right?
Yeah. And then is it because you don't see a future with this person? Is it because you have commitment issues? Like, what is the issue here? And why can't he just commit?
Yeah, definitely.
I think it's so selfish.
Like, yeah, absolutely. Like, what is it? Why is it that this person can't commit to you? Like, have you spoken about, the boundaries that you have as a couple, when you're a couple but not a couple? And do you accept other people being involved in their lives as a romantic interest or in a sexual way or something like that? Like, have you had that conversation? And because it seems like you haven't, that's why it can feel very insecure for you to be like, oh, I'm developing feelings, but I don't know how to let this person go because it feels so real.
Yeah. And like, I understand where she's coming from because she's like, I really like him and I don't want to I don't want to let this go, because obviously it's also like, then it feels like I've wasted all this time investing in this person and it's led nowhere. And that sucks.
Yeah.
Oh, it's hard. It's just like any other breakup, I think. It's learning how to get over that person. Of course, it's going to be really hard at the beginning, but you need to realize that you need better for yourself. You deserve better. You deserve to be treated with love and that respect of someone saying, I want you to be mine. Like,
yeah. And I think that is something that you want, and I don't think he's willing to give. And when you come to the conclusion of you need to let this person go, that is a gut decision. That is a gut feeling. And I think you should go with that. Yeah, it will hurt. It will suck. But do you want to be dragged on for months, years potentially, doing this over and over again to yourself, not having like a solidified, yeah, we're in a relationship, he's going to commit? Because there's never going to be a true answer if that person now can't even give you a yes or a no. What are you?
I think the best advice I could give to this girl to get over this guy is to find another guy. Get under another guy.
And like, there's a lot of potential out there. Like this person isn't your one and only. I know that in some romances or, potentially other people that have been together with a certain person forever, that's like the anomaly. It's not the everyday. It's not the real life of our modern society. And that's okay. And it's okay not to have your first real, genuine romance and those beautiful big feelings of love be reciprocated by that person you think is going to be forever. And that's fine. So, yeah, like Judy said, just try and find new people. You'll be surprised about what's out there, and allow yourself that. Give yourself that chance.
It's like having that respect for yourself and knowing this is how much I'm worth, this is what I deserve. And if you can't meet that, then I'm going to find someone who will.
Yeah, definitely. I 100% agree with Judy on this one.
And then, like, have fun with your girlfriends.
Yeah, you have a life outside of this guy. Our next writer asks, I have a situationship that has stopped texting me as often. I'm not clingy and give him space, even though it annoys me when I'm left undelivered for hours, lol. I don't complain. Yesterday he told me he has been going through some things, which is why he hasn't texted me as much, and he asked me to be patient and asked me about antidepressants. I said no worries and not to feel pressured to message me, and told him about what worked for me and what didn't. My mate told me that if he's going through some issues, then he should work on himself first before getting into a serious relationship, since we would be heading that way after our talk. I think we click a lot, but he doesn't tell me how much he is going through, and I don't push him to tell me anything either. Should I distance myself from him, even though it seems cruel since he was open and honest about the reasons he's not messaging? Or do you think he's actually lying and there's probably someone else? Oh, note, we do see each other every week. We both have kids, so we don't see each other as often as we want. He doesn't ghost me or anything. He does message me first every day. I just want some advice.
Well, the issue here is that he's leaving her on red a few times, so she feels a little bit underappreciated, I guess.
Yeah.
But he's also said that he's going through his own stuff. And as a chronic leaving people on red person, I am very guilty of this. Sometimes it just happens. Like people, like I get into moods where I don't feel like talking to anyone, and I'll turn my phone off and I'll zone out for like a few hours. I just need that space. That doesn't mean that he doesn't care about you. And they've also said like they've got kids, they've got other things going on. I don't know. I feel like this one, she probably doesn't have to worry. Like, I don't think he's probably like...
No, I don't think so either. I think from this kind of conversation, it's more or less like he's going through a down slope, like a rough patch in his life, and clearly being single parents and, parents of like kids of divorce and stuff like that. There's a lot of things that can happen, and it's not easy doing that. Like being a parent myself, I understand, even with a partner, and things just get out of hand sometimes, and you need some time for yourself to recover, and I'm going through that at the moment. So I wouldn't worry too much if he messages you like first thing in the morning and he tries to do his best to see you. I don't think that's an issue, really. I just think don't get paranoid and don't get wrapped up into things. And your friend gave you some really good advice, like let him sort himself out and then see where you go from there, because I think your friend is kind of clued in, especially from a third person perspective.
Yeah. I feel like I always tell my sister when she's acting a little bit more paranoid than she should, like she'll always tell me, she'll always come to me because she knows I'm a little bit more level-headed in that sense.
Yeah.
Well, she'll explain the situation and she'll say, am I being crazy? Do I have something to worry about or not? And sometimes she does. Sometimes her, like it's her intuition, it's her gut feeling, and they are right sometimes. But other times it's just her being a little bit like insecure, maybe, just paranoid.
Yeah, definitely. And I think like you reaching out to your friends and kind of getting some outside opinion about it and kind of seeing it from his perspective a little bit is really good of you. So it more or less comes down to, do you trust this guy enough to allow the space? Maybe talk about how much space he needs, how much time he needs, and then kind of try to fill your time with something that you can do for yourself, with your girlfriends, with your family. And if it comes to the point that it doesn't, fruition into a relationship that you hope for, it's not the end of the world. It might feel like it at the time, but there's plenty of fish out there, like they say, and you putting yourself out there is a testament to you as a person looking for love.
Yeah. So yeah, give him some space, do your own things, and because it is a situationship, it's not a full-blown relationship yet, maybe the time apart will give him some clarity and he can work on himself and then come back to you a better person.
Yeah, absolutely. You want that, right? Like it's something that you want the person to be the best that they can for you and be present with you.
Yeah.
So yeah, that is very important. Our next writer asks, how long do you give a situationship before you cut it off? Been seeing this guy for a month and a half, once a week. I really like him and he's told me he likes me too, yet doesn't text me as much, plan to see me anymore. He's reassured me it's not me, but I just don't know if I believe him anymore. Any advice on going no contact? He's all I can think about. Had a crush on him for a long time and will have to see him weekly. I don't think I've ever connected with someone so well emotionally, physically, and now I feel played. I'm having sex flashbacks. And also, been getting the I'm just busy and he is with his line of work, despite still telling me he's very much into me. Help.
I think him saying that he's still very much into her, that's his way of reassuring her. But maybe he is very just busy. I feel like a lot of girls get into this trap where they feel like if the guy is not constantly texting them, messaging them, letting like up their ass, then it just means that they're not interested, especially when you're in that situationship before you've had that commitment like to a relationship. That's when everyone's like very nervous and anxious. But I don't know, I feel like she's got nothing to worry about. He's reassuring her that he's still interested.
I get it. You know, you can feel a little bit insecure about where you are, but if you're seeing this guy once a week and he's not actively avoiding you and he's got a really, really demanding job, I think let it be. Like this guy isn't, you know, really rushing for a relationship, sure, but that doesn't mean he doesn't want one eventually. And I think maybe the feelings are more skewed in your favor where you want him to love you as much as you love him. And you've liked him for a very, very long time before you got into a situationship. So when you think about all those factors and when you're thinking about trying to be 100% committed and serious with this guy, really ask him and sit down with him and be like, what do you want from this? Do you want something more than this situationship we are in now? And be very clear about it, because obviously you don't feel safe in your position as, you know, whatever you are to him. But yeah, just have that conversation. Like, he probably doesn't know how much you mean to him, maybe. Like, I know it's like giving this guy a bit of slack, but unless you have a conversation with someone about that, you never know.
Yeah. I feel like in all three of these, except for the first guy maybe, we have been cutting the guy a lot more slack. Normally we're like, dump him, he's not worth it.
Yeah. But like, you know, I think that the two writers, like, were like, all the writers are quite reasonable in terms of like justifying why it's a tricky situation. Yeah. And obviously, like, you care about this person enough to be like, these are the flaws in the relationship, but I'm not blaming this person 100%. Like, that, you need to give that a bit of credit. And I think to kind of ease doubt is just seeing it from another person's point of view, being in their shoes. And I think that's what me and Judy see in these comments as well.
Yeah. Like, especially with this one, if they did have that label of boyfriend and girlfriend and they could still only see each other once a week because he's so busy with work, is that going to be a problem for her? Like, she needs to think about that as well.
Yeah, you got to be very careful in terms of like thinking, where do I stand in this relationship, where I see myself, but also making sure that it's not like a one-way sided situation. You don't want to be that person that's like, I want this, this, and this, expecting a relationship to come out of it, where in actual fact the other person's not on the same level in terms of that, you know, wanting the same thing. Unless you both want the same thing, then it's very hard to try and convince the other person otherwise. And, you know, this is a situationship. It's not a full-blown relationship like Judy said, so it's a little bit different and nuanced in that way.
Yeah, I feel like also there's a lot of things going on about situationships. It's like the new big thing that everybody's in right now. And I feel like one of the main reasons is because mostly girls, they give girlfriend privileges to men that haven't committed to them. So these guys have no reason to turn around and be like, oh, well, I'm going to be faithful to you because I'm already getting all the perks that I would if you were my girlfriend.
Yeah, exactly. And it's not saying that every guy is like that. It's just like this is something that you kind of both either agreed on or it just happened naturally, but then expecting a relationship to happen naturally isn't always the case, and you'd have to understand that a little bit, and probably that's where the frustration is coming from, and I totally get that. And so if I was going to put myself in your shoes, I would, have a sit-down conversation and really lay it all out and just be like, I really am falling in love with you and I want this to be a serious relationship, and I just want to make sure that you feel the same way. So then at least it's early on and it's not like you're being dragged along in this relationship feeling unhappy because that person hasn't said, I want you to be my girlfriend.
Like, I feel like it's so important to set your expectations from the beginning so you guys both know what you want out of this. If this is just a fling that you want, or if you want something more serious, then set those expectations from the beginning. It's so important.
Yeah, 100% agree.
I feel like even because I'm on the dating apps and people always say, like, never say, if a guy asks, well, what do you want here for? What do you think I'm on here for? Like, I'm not here to make friends. I want a relationship.
Yeah. I think like sometimes the guys don't see it as a relationship, like serious relationship pool. They're like, oh, this is like an easy like one night stand potentially. I don't know. I haven't been on the dating apps, but I've heard like horror stories from Judy where it's like conversation was good first 1 or 2 days and fizzles out because I don't know if the guy was expecting something else. But the dating apps, it can mean different things, but I think a lot of times girls and even guys want a meaningful relationship, and I have seen people get married because they found someone that wanted the same thing. So just be like honest in the beginning and say what you want, and then people will know, so then you guys don't get into a sticky situation like a situationship beforehand. Well, that brings us to the end of today's episode. We hoped you enjoyed and look forward to drinks next time. Bye.
Bye.